Hi, this is Brad Carlton from TrueFire. This lesson is entitled Caged Dominant. It's based on the CAGED system. If you're familiar with my other series, CAGED Crack, you know that we're looking at the fingerboard in 5 areas based off 5 folk forms. So I presented the major chords and the minor chords along with the EDCAG. This is an extension of that, moving into unaltered dominant chords. Now what this means and how it's going to serve you is, what do you do when you have to play over dominant chords that are not just based on a 1-4-5? You probably already know how to get through a blues progression using the minor pentatonic and the blues scale, a little bit of major pentatonic and things like that. But in these other situations, which crop up in funk and in blues tunes also, jazz, pop, all across the board, you need to have a system so you're not just jumping around, because that can get you in trouble and end up hitting some weak notes. So you're going to learn the 5 different forms with the chords and the associated arpeggios, and then I'm going to give you 4 different little vamps, 2-chord vamps to play over. We're going to talk about melodic patterns. I'm going to show you how to develop motifs, and you're also going to learn how to build this stuff on your own. And we're going to provide a platform to extend these dominant 7th arpeggios with other tones coming from the blues composite scale. I think you'll really enjoy this. Let's begin with the C7 form chord and arpeggio. If you look at your printed diagrams, the first diagram shows this C7 form. You probably already know it, and it also shows it up in the 13th position. When you learn a chord form, you want to make sure you memorize the fingering as given, but also learn other fingering. Don't worry about that, I'll show you that later on. But the point is, you know it as a fingering or a grip, but it's also imperative that you know the voicing, which means what the scale tones are. So in this case, C is the 1, E is the 3rd, B flat's the flat 7, C is the 1. A dominant 7th chord is a root, 3rd, 5th, and flatted 7th, so this particular voicing does not have the 5th in it. You can add or delete that. It isn't that important to have it in a dominant family chord. So when you learn the chord form, memorize where the tones are. The guide tones in a dominant family chord will be the 3 and the flat 7. Keep that in mind because we're going to be utilizing those. And if you look at it this way, the root and the 5th would form a power chord. When you add the guide tones, you get the complete dominant family chord. Alright, so there's your chord form. Anytime you play this chord, you're going to see it as a 5th string root, more than likely. It's also got the root on the 2nd string, so it's your option. But you need to see the arpeggio associated with this chord form. That's how to link this information. Your next diagram shows the C7 form arpeggio. E is the 3rd, G is the 5th, B flat's the flat 7, C is the 1, then it just repeats. You have the same thing occurring up in the 12th position, so make sure you master these arpeggios. Then it'll be easier for you to play melodic patterns and to jump around. And as always, once you learn it in strict position with the fingering, practice playing it with just one fingering, hopping around. But when you do that, make sure you know the name of the note with the scale degree. That's real important. So here we have some information for you to get started on. Now learn it in C7, because C7 is going to be the home base chord for our little progressions we're going to play over. But you have to also see it anywhere on the neck. So once you've learned it in C7, try playing it up a whole step in D7. Then move it around. Start hopping around. Just have some fun with it. In our next lesson, I'm going to show you some arpeggio patterns, because that'll get you out of the rut of just going up and down in the arpeggio when you want to solo.